Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever and whenever you are. My name is Alea Laylis, and this is an episode of the Enchanted Life Salon brought to you on Look Who's Talking Vision. Sit back, relax, grab a cup of something, and let's contemplate the enchantment that is our life. Good morning, everyone. This is Alea coming to you from the big island of Hawaii, and we have a special treat this morning. You guys know that I usually only broadcast on Wednesdays and Sundays, but I was cruising the web, and you know how you check into different people's websites and different people's Facebooks, and I've been watching this gentleman for several months on Facebook and seeing his posts and comments on other people's posts, and I found him really fascinating. And then he posted something about a major change that he had taken in his life, and I thought, oh my gosh, everyone would want to hear this. And so I sent him a little note, and he said yes, and so we have an unscheduled broadcast today. I want to introduce you to Ronnie Landis and tell you a teeny bit about him, but he's going to tell us a whole lot more. He's a man on a mission, and his mission is to contribute to the uplifting of our planet through helping others make radical shifts in their health and food choices. He is into living foods, and he has a primary focus on raw foods, superfoods, herbalism, natural spring water, and making innovative healing technologies available to everyone. And those of you who have been following me know that raw food is my thing. I really love it. Not so much the superfoods, but the raw foods, absolutely. So we'll have to see what Ronnie has to say about the superfoods as well. The deep down mystery of nutrition is vast. The immortal phrase, you are what you eat, translates into every sector of our reality. It attracts and binds onto you are what you think about, yet takes a front seat as our nutrition provides the fuel for our thoughts, feelings, and spiritual agenda in this life. So welcome, Ronnie. And, oh, by the way, he has a book. Welcome, Ronnie.
Hey, how's it going?
It is going fantastic, and I am so excited for you. We cover a large span on the Look Who's Talking Vision, and the part, before I even realized that you were the same Ronnie that was doing the raw foods, I saw you make a post about serving your resignation to your job and that jumping into your life 110%. And that was what caught my attention as far as our audience is concerned, because it's a transition that I'm about to make, and that a lot of people, and that I've been encouraging others to make even before I'm making it. So I want to know about that as well as all the other stuff you're doing.
Yeah, well, you know what, I think it was a very powerful thing to do, and I think it's universal because everyone, especially in kind of our Western culture, I think our world culture now is that everyone in some way is struggling with something that they are attached to, and that attachment is deep-rooted, and it's not necessarily something that they even want in their life. And, you know, it's very interesting when we look at this whole kind of like job situation that people are in. You know, the acronym is just over broke. And,
yeah, really.
you know, and I've been looking at this for many years, actually, this whole kind of workforce industrialization mentality that we have been inundated with from day one in our society. And I've always wondered to myself, I'm like, why don't more people actually do what they love to do? You know, I meet people all the time over the course of my life, and that are really just slaving away. You know, it's like modern day slavery. The way I look at it is people are really devalued. They're given a paycheck which is basically just, it's a transitory object called money, and they're given this paycheck that locks them into this job that in most cases they do not look forward to getting up on Monday morning. I mean, we know that most heart attacks occur on Monday morning on the way to the job. Yeah. So that should say something right there. And so for me, it was a breaking point. And, you know, I've been working this occupation as a tonic bar consultant at the Air One Natural Foods Tonic Bar, and I don't want to knock them or anything. It's just my personal relationship there. I've been there the last 4 or 5 months, and they originally brought me in because of my specialty in nutrition and herbalism and that kind of thing. And it just became a situation where I was no longer feeling that I was doing the work that I was originally brought in. I didn't totally agree with the direction of the overall Air One, just kind of the corporate side of it. And so for me personally, it was just accumulating inside of me, this feeling that I'm actually wasting my time. And on a Monday, about 2 weeks ago, on a Monday afternoon, I walked in and I got this rush, just this very subtle rush that ended up setting up a bunch of synchronistic points of events that started happening, basically confirmations from whatever the higher power, or whatever you want to call it, letting me know that this was my last day in this kind of this energy, this feeling like I'm going to be a part of this direction. I knew that my direction was changing on the spot, and I just remember leaving my shift that night feeling very frustrated, feeling very upset, feeling very devalued, feeling like I was not valued whatsoever at that in that environment, and I was not able to be my full self. You know, I was kind of playing this thing where I'm, you know, what really did it for me was I've been working my behind off like crazy the last 4 years. I've been, this book that I released, it took me 4 years to really get it tuned in, dialed in, and to the point where I wanted to bring it into the world. And so the last 5 months, I've been literally waking up early in the morning, writing like crazy, going to work, and then staying up until like 2 or 3 in the morning, continuing on. And I repeat this process every single day. And it just got to the point where I realized that I was giving too much of myself away. I was spreading myself too thin, and it was detracting from my life force, literally. And that was the breaking point. And, you know, I won't go into all the details what led to my decision.
That takes so much courage. It takes so much courage to take a look at where your life is and to look down the road without being able to see around the curve and say, you know what, this is not working, and I need to make a change now. I don't need to keep going until, you know, something else happens and something else happens and I have a Monday morning heart attack. I need to stop now, and I need to change, and I need to do what makes me feel good and valued and appreciated, and to get on with what my vision for my life is. And that's what I commend you for, the courage to step up and do that. Now, when you tendered your resignation and you walked away, I believe you posted something about, you know, getting several copies of your book. Did you actually, at the moment that you went, okay, I'm out of here, did you have a plan, or did the plan start to fuel into you after you walked away?
Well, I planned a few things out, but very just kind of like, okay, can I cover my rent in 20 days? The basic idea was that, okay, if I can at least do that, I will be good, because I'm kind of a hustler when it comes to, like, making things happen. If I work better under pressure in a lot of cases, and I felt like here's the core idea that I want to get across that happened to me, and I think it'll be pertinent to the listeners, is that I realized that as long as I had that paycheck, I would never, ever have more than that paycheck.
Exactly.
Right? Like the dollar amount after taxes on that paycheck literally was sabotaging my psychological expectations of what is possible for my life. It's like, if your closet's full of clothes, how do you expect to put anything new in until you actually take out the old stuff? You know, it's cleaning out the closet. And for me, that was the case. So that was the idea going into it. Is like, listen, I know about the universal principles. I know about opening up the energy channels, and I haven't been doing that lately. So let me take a leap on faith. I'm getting a download here, and I think it's very advantageous for me, especially as a young man. I don't have a family. I don't have these obligations. Let me just jump and see if the old saying is true, that if you jump off a cliff, the net will be presented to you. It'll show up. And so that's what's been happening. Doors have literally been opening. I've been getting phone calls from all kinds of people, companies, my books, all the books that I had available are now maxed out, and I actually have to order another shipment of books because too many people are ordering them. And so it's like, I find it it's like Tony Robbins says, you know, when you make a decision, that's it. You become that person, you know. And there's so many people I can quote. Paulo Coelho in his book, The Alchemist. You know, when you make a decision, the universe will conspire to surround you with circumstances to support that. And I've known this my whole life. So I was like, you know what? Why don't we just act on it and see what happens?
And so you actually stepped out without a safety net, and the safety net showed up in order to support you because you had the faith to step out.
Yeah, it was really having, well, you know, a lot of it is, as I was kind of saying before, is just, for me, I think it was being present to the message that was coming through to me. You know, a lot of times in our life, we sabotage ourselves because we're not willing to be present to what's trying to come through to us. We have too much blockages, and maybe too much physical blockages from inappropriate dietary choices. It may be too much mental blockage or emotional blockage, whatever it is. I think there's this habit to sabotage our greater good for momentary results because we can't see around that corner.
Exactly.
But that's where the growth is. That's where our greater vision is right outside of our comfort zone. So I think if we can get comfortable with being uncomfortable and take a few risks in our life, we're going to be very surprised at what shows up for us pretty quickly.
That was going to be my next comment to you, and to get your input on that, because so many of the people who, not so much my audience, but I'm sure that this will filter out to those people. So many people have extremely poor food choices. They don't know that they're poor. They think they're eating healthy. You know, they're eating they're not necessarily eating McDonald's, but, you know, they're eating animal products, and they're eating some processed foods and whatnot, and they wonder why they're tired when they wake up in the morning, and why they don't have enough energy to get them through the day, and how come they don't have enough energy to exercise, and, you know, that they're sleeping poorly, and blah, 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 whatever their symptoms are. And they find that what they're putting in is so polluted their connection until they can't hear the messages.
Right.
So did you find that when, I noticed that you're an athlete, and that so obviously you've been doing these healthy food choices for a while. but did some shift in your food choices kind of step up your connection?
Absolutely. Beyond compare. I mean, when I got into raw foods, my ability to transmit higher thought forms, but not just transmit it within my own being, but to express it into the world and actually turn it into a reality, amplified 100-fold. And so what my message is actually building to in the world, the message that I want to convey into the world is that you are what you think about and you are what you eat only work in unison. Like this idea, I grew up on success literature most of my life. So like I really got into like Napoleon Hill's work with like Think and Grow Rich and Wallace Wattles, The Science of Getting Rich or The Science of Being Great, and like all the great orators like Anthony Robbins and Jim Rohn. And there's this one I don't know if you're familiar with Earl Nightingale.
Absolutely. Of course.
Yes, he was the guy in the 1950s who kind of like launched the whole audiomobile university phenomenon, where you can listen to audio tracks of personal development in your car, and he had the whole thing about the strangest secret. And so the strangest secret is you are what you think about most of the time. And I've been doing this in lectures lately. I've been telling people, I used to be all about that one concept, that you are what you think about. Your thoughts are everything, and everything else isn't really that big of a deal. But as we saw with Earl Nightingale, he got so into that one idea that he had one too many steaks and his heart failed him. So,
absolutely.
So what I realized was that once I brought in the you are what you eat, it actually brought back so my thoughts become more powerful. My thoughts actually manifest instantaneously because I'm much more electrically conductive. My nervous system is conductive because I'm putting in electron-rich foods like raw plant food that have water in it that's conductive. It has minerals in it, so my nervous system is able to fire a lot quicker. My mental acuity is able to just bring those ideas in, but my body is healthy, it's alkaline, it's clear, it's cleansed, where I'm able to act on that. I have the energy to produce those results on a consistent basis, and I found that was the missing factor for me. And there's so many directions you can take this, but just to keep it simple, your food is really the fuel for your thoughts. And not just the thoughts that I was already thinking, but once I got into natural eating, I started to eat the product of nature, which is raw plant food essentially. My thoughts actually began to change. Instead of thinking about being a superstar athlete or thinking about having whatever, clothes, women, cars, houses, whatever it was, I started to think more about the environment. I started to think about greening over my life. I started to really think about animal welfare and human rights issues and stuff like that. It just started to change from selfishness into more compassion for humanity.
Yeah, I think that there's been a push lately from the old guard, the people that have been out there talking spirituality forever and, talking about our space brothers and all of this other sort of new agey spiritual kind of stuff. Those people have been giving us all of that kind of information for years, probably 30, 40 years, but they've never talked about food. And just recently, within the last 2 years, they've started to talk about it's important to eat lighter. It's important to eat more whole foods. It's important to eat more plant-based foods. And they haven't gone so far as to say you should be vegetarian or that you should be raw, because I think a lot of them don't even know what raw is. But they are talking about eating lighter and treading lighter on the planet. And so I think it's an idea whose time has come, and that it's gathering so much momentum until eventually, instead of you walk into back in the day, I walked into a restaurant in Washington State when I was just vegetarian, and I said, do you have vegetarian food? And they looked at me and said, oh, yes, we have fish and chicken. And it's like, no, those are not vegetables. But at that time, vegetarian was weird. They just thought, oh, that person only eats vegetables. They're so strange. And I think that eventually we're going to get to the place where people will look at meat eaters and go, oh, my God, those people eat meat. That's so strange.
Yeah, I think it's starting to kind of go in that direction. I definitely feel that for myself, and it's not really a judgment on other people. I'm just looking at things from a different perspective, and I am noticing myself kind of like, that is kind of weird. Like, definitely processed food, candy, soda with phosphoric acid, and we know what that does to the rust on cars. I mean, when people drink that stuff, I'm just like, geez, like, that is really odd.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to be something that they have to be pushed into or cajoled into or shamed into. I think it's a natural progression, because if we sort of listen to ourselves and listen to what's going on around us with all the GMO and the modified foods and pollution and et cetera, I think people are going to naturally gravitate toward what makes them feel good. Everyone wants to feel good. I don't care who they are. And so the more we get in touch with our feelings of, oh, I feel great this morning, or Jesus, where's the coffee? More and more they're going to go, oh, I had a juice yesterday and I felt fantastic. Today I had coffee. I don't feel so fantastic. Maybe I'll have juice again,
Right.
And so just out of necessity of trying to keep up with the increased vibration of the planet, people are going to gravitate toward the food that helps them keep up, which is the live foods.
Yeah, and, just touching on what you said in the beginning of that, what I've realized is going on in the world is that, and this is a historical phenomenon that's been going on throughout the ages, is that the pendulum has been swung so far to one side of, like, just the most absurd kind of food experiment going on, which basically things that we've looked at as food our whole life turn out to not even really be food at all. So it's like it's been swung so far to one end that's why the raw food message is coming in so strong now, because there needs to be a homeostasis to occur, a balance to occur within this whole situation, and it's really waking people up. And it's really, this is what I just want to throw this out there. This is what raw food really is to me in our day and age. Raw food is the greatest exit strategy to take somebody out of the most toxic food experiment known to man, which is basically the standard American diet, and to take them right out of that and bring them into more of a balance, to bring them into a possibility for their lives that they had no idea existed before that. And people get turned on to raw food, and they allow the cleansing process to occur within their own body. They notice miraculous shifts in their consciousness. They start to look at life differently. They start to look at their life differently. And, they start to see a possibility for who they are and who they can become that was not presently available under the old direction that they were taking. And I think that is the greatest message in terms of, like, why to even get into raw foods, because, like you said, everybody wants to feel better, but you can't do that under the same direction of what's causing the problem. You know, you have to do something different. You have to be willing to adjust the dial of your consciousness, if you want to use that word, in order to achieve a different result. And that's why I quit my job, by the way, is because I knew going in this direction, I'm not going to be able to achieve a grander result for my life. So I have to do something drastically different in order to get something different.
Fantastic. I want people to know your website. It's RonnieLandis.com, RonnieLandis.com. And go there, everybody, and check it out, because he's got all kinds of science there that backs up our conversation that we were talking about today. And I want to run this by you. We've got like 4 minutes, but I want to run this by you because it's something that we've been doing here on the island, and I just want your take on it. There's so much processed foods out there. There's so much GMO stuff out there. So a lot of us have been taking heritage seeds and putting them in something that we call seed balls or seed bombs, and starting the seeds in clay and, growth medium. And then once they're sprouted, based on whichever seeds we stuck in there, we're like putting them out into the wild where we're hoping that they will survive. And because its edible landscape is crucial. And so because it's we don't have a lot of farming here on this island. Everything's shipped in. And so we're looking at, okay, if these things will grow in the wild, then let's make a seed bomb and throw them out there, and just there will be food.
Yeah, and Hawaii is one of the few sacred lands with some of the most volcanically charged soil, and just the whole area of Hawaii is unbelievable and needs to be preserved. And I totally support that. That's like chaos gardening, where things just grow wildly as nature dictates, instead of this whole kind of like single monocropping kind of nonsense that we have today, which is producing inferior food. So exactly. I think that idea is really intelligent.
Santa, I am so happy that we had this conversation, and I wish you the very best with this book. I hope you're coming to Hawaii. There's a bookstore near us that you could come and do a book signing.
Yeah, well, hey, you know what? Talk to some people. Let's get some things set up out there, because it is due time for me to get to Hawaii and chill out on the beach.
Well, I'm on the Big Island. We don't have a whole lot of sandy beaches, but there's great surfing, and there's lots of wild food already, tropical food. So, and there's a decent community of raw foodists out here, because every time there's an event, people are kind of like wandering into my store and going, you know where there's a good raw food restaurant? Like, we don't have one.
Yeah, but I imagine the food, I know the food in Hawaii, the raw food in Hawaii is like light years ahead of, like, I'm in Los Angeles, and we have great food here, but, I mean, Hawaii is like, I'm just savoring thinking about it.
It is quite delicious. Okay, we are down to almost less than a minute.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I hope that we can do this again, because we just barely scratched the surface, but I really wanted the audience to at least meet you, check you out on Facebook, and look at your website and whatnot, and learn some things about how thought and food affects our reality. So thank you so much for coming on.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. I'm hoping we'll do it again. Thank you, audience, for listening. We are on the Big Island of Hawaii and Keaho Shopping Center, Pele's Hokulele Gallery and Gifts, and you can check my website at alealeland.com. And also, if you are wanting to get the archives of this program, the Lucid Talking Vision program, just search for my name, Alea Leyland, and radio or iTunes or Blog Talk or any of that, and you'll be able to find the archives for all of these programs. There's over 100 programs so far. Thank you so much for joining us, and until next time, this is Alea Leyland and Ronnie Landis, and have a fabulous day. Aloha.